this is the Utilities Committee meeting, October 21st. We're getting started with the waste management.
Okay, so what you have in your packet, there are two things under waste management we want to bring to the Utility Committee awareness. One is that it's just time to update our contract for solid waste between the City of Port Orchard and Waste Management. So contract 02415, that was go to the second page. So the term, so they had 5-year terms. So July 1st, 2015, so we'll be expiring June 30th, 2020. So I remember when we did this last time, there was I think it was current Mayor Patansu, who was on the council at the time, wanted to make sure that we had just brought this to the Utility Committee's attention, that we're going through this process again. So 02415 will be a revised, or not revised, will be a new contract, a new 5-year contract for 2020 to 2025. Recall that in the current city code, citizens are required to have solid waste as a key piece. The other one is we operate under our agreement with Kitsap County, under their Kitsap County solid waste program. So waste management is this, we don't have the ability to go hire Rabanco or whatever, because we're under, the county's program. So this is just more of a heads up. Also in the packet, I wanted to include the Exhibit A, which has been amended. This is based on, I guess, Tony, is this the proposed amendment, or
This is the proposed, it hasn't been sent over yet.
Okay, so we'll
Brandy's waiting on it.
Yeah, so we'll be doing this amendment under the current contract. So this will be the second amendment to 02415. The previous one, you could see where we added 720 Prospect. That was in red.
What about Bay Street?
Bay Street.
Sydney and Bay Street. There's like containers on Bay Street. Is that included
That's-
here? Or no?
It says City Street cans, Bay Street.
Yeah, there's a total of 12 city cans
that-
that they dump for us.
Oh.
Just the logoed ones that we
Okay.
had made.
And that's on Sydney as well. If
Yeah, they're all the way from Frederick, all the
Okay.
way down to Harrison.
okay.
Right, but they're not listed on this list.
Yes,
Yeah, they are.
are.
The last
very bottom.
The last
The
one.
last line, Mark.
Oh, the street cans, sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't
I didn't see it there.
Yeah, they're under that. So you just.
So that's garbage and recycle.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was recycle added due to Councilman Cheney's request.
How many recycle bins do we have? Not that many. 8, is it? Do you remember? They're
There's-
combination ones.
I don't
There's
know.
10 of
Yeah.
them.
Okay. That many. Because it seems like
Yeah,
there are
there's
gaps.
2 of the old style, just green
Yeah.
ones, and then 10 of the new ones.
Okay.
So like I said, this is just an update to kind of let you know that we will be looking at an amendment to the current contract, just to update what we got. Mainly it's adding McCormick
And taking away Public Works.
and then taking the South Shed out.
So
And then-
you didn't really change it by much, just an extra yardage of garbage.
That's the only park they do? Is the McCormick Village Park?
Yes, that's the only actual dumpster that we have.
Okay.
We dump ourselves the smaller.
Like in Clinton Park or the
residential
other ones?
cans, yeah.
So this doesn't have anything about pricing it. That always
No,
just
and
rolls with whatever.
that's the
line.
UTC
Yeah.
as well. We can't control pricing.
Yeah, no, of course not.
Can we say anything when they miss people's pickups repeatedly?
You can. You can go online and do that.
Well,
Have you had-
what I mean is that they will claim that the can was not left out. And it has been actually left out. And
I proved it with
yeah.
photos.
Okay,
You know, the
good.
time
You've had
photos.
that experience too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've had that experience.
That's unfortunately, that's not a city issue. you can't get a hold of me or Tony and resolve that, you just.
Oh, I know it's not your,
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you're passing it on, because they always try to pass the buck and say, we will collect twice as much the next time, but if your bin is full, you don't have the
Yeah,
capacity.
you'll have to go through their customer service. I had the same thing. We met with Waste Management the last time we met, and it just happened that they had just completely like switched weeks on our recycling, because it's every other week.
Yeah.
And I just said, yeah, we were, the neighborhood was just kind of hit and miss. We had left our camp for a week. Somebody had, without notifying anybody, had just shifted the weeks. And the guy, the new area manager, was like, oh, I have to figure that out or fire somebody. So we just got shifted and nobody notified us. But now I get a text, or I get an email or a text message now based after that.
The manager finally took care of that.
Okay.
And I had to do that maybe 2 or 3 times, kind of. But right now they check on it, the same sort
They
of
seem
thing.
to be aware, and I hate to think it's because we're council members.
Oh, no,
I hope
I
they
don't
do it
think
for
that-
all residents.
You know, the
'cause they're
truth is,
skipping a lot of
they wouldn't
people.
know that. They're just,
The guys riding in the trucks probably don't
yeah,
know.
it's
No.
just, who knows what, why.
Yeah, so this is just more of a heads up that we are gonna have an amendment coming forward, and then the new contract will be coming.
Well, who else would do this? Waste Management almost seems to have a monopoly? Is that, there's
Well,
another
they
company
do,
that
they have a
actually
they have a statewide contract.
statewide? Is that how it works?
It's countywide.
Or countywide.
Countywide,
yeah.
It's
I mean,
UTC
Pierce County, it's
regulated.
Murray's.
They're
it's,
the
you know.
only one that's out, sort of like Wave can only do Port Orchard,
Oh, it's a lot.
Comcast
Oh,
can't.
it's like
come
a
over here.
franchise.
I just
I
know
don't think
that,
Wave is exclusive though, is it?
Yes, it is, other than Dish and DirecTV.
See, that's
Yeah.
kind of an odd thing, because there's no competition.
Yeah, there's no
there
Xfinity
is,
here.
I mean, I know that when I worked at Parametrics briefly, it was right when Waste Management and Rabanco, and we are actually representing Rabanco on the tip, who was gonna do that and get that contract. So Rabanco was the other big, there's like 2 main solid waste.
I see.
Because you're talking about
They're
not just who
huge.
picks up your garbage, but who does the tip, who rail cars it to Eastern Washington, and I mean, it's a big program.
Sure.
And I know that it was when the county was going out for the RFP, and it went down to 2, Rabanco and Waste Management, and Waste Management got it, and they ultimately built the facility out there at the industrial park, and they're the ones that has the trucking contract for everything goes over to East, because we were designing roads in Eastern Washington over in Yakima County, I think, to, make sure that they had truck lanes to get up these hills for all this stuff, and then the rail cars. So, I mean, it's a big thing, and there's only a few people. So the answer is, there's only a few people that are in that solid waste game these days.
Yeah.
Now,
Hallsville has their own.
Hallsville is part of their public works department.
Yeah. And I think 15 years ago, Rabanco did get the contract for Bremerton. We're only able to do it for a year,
I see.
and it wasn't cost effective, so they just turned the contract back over to Waste Management.
Yeah. I can see how it would be expensive.
Yeah, and back on the East Coast, solid waste is handled by the mob.
You got on your spring and fall cleanup? You're setting
Yeah.
a date for that?
No, this is a much more robust.
So the big
Oh.
thing on this exhibit A is adding the park,
Oh.
which wasn't on there.
Uh-huh.
So we're not actually paying for that service. There's an actual dumpster out there specifically in the summertime when we're utilizing it a lot.
So will this increase our price by a bit? What we pay?
No,
Is this
we
a-
don't pay for any of these. This is
Oh.
part of the
That's what we should
I
add
see.
to these.
Yeah.
I want one in front of my house on Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay, a more robust discussion is coming up
This
with the cleanup.
this falls under the same category as the Active Club.
Oh, dear.
This is a program that we have no idea how and when it started, other than 1990-ish. So Tony's got a PowerPoint. Here's, before we get into kind of the PowerPoint, here's the main crux.
So the first part is the flyer that we put out every time. Actually, this is the wrong flyer.
Well, it was That's all right.
It doesn't have the cost adjustments.
Oh, it's okay, this is just for illustrative.
Okay, so I had presented on the items picked up for a fee, those are all underpriced at this point. This is a fee schedule that was set a long time ago, and the actual charges that the county's charging are a lot higher. So it's just an updated list.
But that doesn't require council action to,
I didn't think, Brandy didn't think so, but
Okay.
we just wanted to bring it to their attention.
so the
So
fall
we're
clean.
losing every time we do this by quite a bit?
Well, we don't actually pay for cleanup. These are fees, I think, that go back into general fund.
It's just that people would save the stuff up until
Yeah.
the cleanup comes, because,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right, so if the program continues, it'll be the spring cleanup that we'll look at
Yes.
having updated
Yeah.
pricing.
yeah.
And these are the updated prices, or?
Those
No.
are,
Those are-
those, yeah, there was another attachment that actually
Okay.
had the updated
Okay.
pricing, right?
I put in the right.
So
Okay.
especially for appliances and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, we're way underpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah, just double them.
Well, what do
No,
we
there's-
need
there's
to
a
do?
bigger issue.
Yeah, we're gonna at least,
We've got to
Yeah.
break even on
Yeah,
this.
pretty much.
But the program itself is, I see you guys going, wow, too much, but
We- we've
doesn't
got-
it keep the city
No.
cleaner? It does not. You don't think it does?
We've outgrown the program,
Okay.
is the problem.
so that's the next part of the
Okay.
PowerPoint here.
Okay, well, I'm listening.
Okay.
I think what he's gonna go over next is on the back side of what you've got there.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
okay.
section here.
There you go.
Thank you.
So we try to do some research as far as the known history of the program for cleanup. We've got some documentation back to 1980, which basically the population was a quarter and the square mileage is a quarter of what it is today. There's actually no known policy even obligating the city to provide this service. So I know NOAA had some concerns that we're actually probably
Gifting of public funds.
public funds.
If it wasn't established properly, because the issue is what we, and Tony can correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest issues is it used to be a pretty, when the city was small, it was just a couple public works guys going around and picking up a few piles. What it is today is how many days?
It's a full week.
It's a full week of all hands on deck for that entire week. It's coordination issues with waste management that we didn't have before. And to me, the biggest issue
Yeah.
is the abuse of the system. It's become an expectation. And so we get a number of, so one is people put out stuff that they're not supposed to put out. They take advantage of the city's generosity.
Like what? Do you have pictures and?
He does.
Yeah.
What did
Okay.
you see in here?
Yeah.
So we have.
I'll do later. Okay.
And then basically we get complaints from people that have nothing to do with us, that they're confused with waste management and what they're doing, and they call us and complain. And it's just becoming to the point where it's such a high expectation that we do this for everybody every year, that it's what's been completely lost is that this was just a program to kind of help out twice a year, and people are just abusing the system. So I'm advocating that we discontinue, whether or not it's a gifting of public funds or not.
Tires.
So anyway, so Tony can go into the,
So pros, it's a mean for the elderly handicapped to get rid of bulk goods, and otherwise means that they would not be able to dispose of these items.
unless they hired somebody to come out and do
Yeah.
it.
Property owners, renters, to dispose of landscaping and trash that have been laying around their property. Helps with the aesthetic cleanliness of the city. The cons, over the last 3 years, the total cost for wages and benefits has almost doubled. Shop personnel are unavailable for other duties. The footprint for cleanup has increased exponentially since the original date established. Anticipated residential development will significantly increase costs, especially with Stetson Heights and all the other developments that are going to be going in.
McCormick.
Nora?
Citizens have a sense of entitlement now and are rude to staff. Citizens do not adhere to the flyer guide and leave piles that are extraordinarily large. Items are not contained and are materials that we do not collect. And that goes into the pictures there, which, that's just a few. I mean, you're talking about a week-long,
It's a lot
you
of
know,
stuff.
yes.
And they're not supposed to be doing it like that. You know, they're supposed to be paying for appliances for the list, and then the other
Putting
pile,
a thing on it.
and the other pile, what is it, 4x4?
It's supposed to be 3 by 3
Yeah,
by 4.
it's pretty small.
Yeah.
This is not that, these photos
No.
are obviously
And
larger.
a lot of times they don't bag it, they don't bundle it, they just,
Uh-huh.
just throw miscellaneous stuff they've been collecting for the year
I mean,
into a
particularly
pile, you
the
know?
house here with this,
Yeah.
they probably have the means to take care of this, right?
You
Yes.
mentioned
Yes.
tires.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is it's,
They're not adhering to the flyer, they're just
Uh-huh.
not actually reading it of what we're gonna take and what we're not. And then they'll call down and they'll be rude to the girls,
That
that,
there's
why aren't we
something picked
picking
up.
this up? And it's like, well, this is a free program, first of all, and there's supposed to be guidelines of what you can put out and what you can't.
So can we look at something, instead of discontinuing it completely, could it be further restricted, or could it be that we have a drop-off place for a spring and fall cleanup?
So that's what we're going into here.
Oh, okay,
So
sorry.
the next one's cost for wages and benefits. Obviously, we couldn't get numbers for back in 1980, but just these last 3 years, it has doubled from 12,000 to 22,000. And that is just wages and benefits. That's not, staff,
Yes.
advertisement, fuel costs.
Are we also paying a dumping fee?
No, it's a free service. It's up to $3,000 a year, and we don't meet that
Okay.
$3,000 every year. So
Okay,
they track it.
okay.
yeah,
So that way, it's not a problem, but it is a problem with our staff.
Again, it's grown now, it takes an entire week. And the unintended consequences of that is we're getting behind on everything else. And the other unintended consequences, because it's now taking a full week, now and again, there used to be somewhat of a symbiotic relationship between what we were doing in conjunction with waste management services, but it's taking so long, I think, to get it all picked up that there's just this confusion now and now that the city has garbage and recycling, because we had a number of calls this year had to do with
yeah, there's confusion.
that. There was like, oh, you didn't pick up, we had our recycling bin out. And it's like, well, it's not
It's not
just
us.
not that program. You're recycling, but we're having to answer all those questions.
Sure. So you have a suggestion, then, right?
And then if you flip that one over, there's alternatives for consideration. We either discontinue spring, fall cleanup altogether, only have it once a year, and pick up McCormick Woods and the ridges in McCormick Meadows that you do the city one time during the year and then you do McCormick Woods and the ridges at another
Like
time.
we actually do, we were splitting between McCormick and here. What was that? Oh, that was the Flushing.
Flushing, yep.
Flushing.
We only pick up pay items and bulk goods, and discontinue the smaller stuff that they're throwing out, or do a voucher program where they bring their ID and we can actually have containers dropped off and they would have to dump it themselves and show proof of residency.
And then someone has to man that.
Yep. It would be a lot less, staff hours for somebody just to sit there and, monitor the program.
I think the pick up pay items only is, because the issue is, out where I live, I have to go to the tip, and so when I finally get a truckload, of course I don't have a truck anymore, because Harry totaled my truck, but when I used to have a truck, I would save up the stuff that washes up on the beach from the winter, because we're on the north end of the lake, and so we get styrofoam billets that are waterlogged, and I cut them up in pieces, and then I get stuff from the ground. So, once a year I usually have like a load that and I gotta pay for it. That's part of property ownership. And by doing this program, the tendency is now it's like, oh, well, the city's gonna do this twice a year for me, so I'm just gonna completely melt the system rather than just, I need to go take this out myself. Everybody else in the county, we're the only jurisdiction around here that does this. And so I know it's a great thing to some degree, but it's also becoming really problematic. So I think we're gonna have to first find out if it's a gifting of public funds and address that issue. And then after we address the public funding issue, and if the council wants to move ahead with it, put the policies in place that allow it to not be gifting of funds, then we're gonna have to look at revamping the system at some level.
I'd like to suggest another thing, another action item, which is maybe consider a poll, asking people what it is they expect or what they would like to have picked up. I can see it going to only like yard waste, for example, or maybe only appliances or something. But it sounds like we do need to re-educate people about what the program is for, and I think these should be advertised as this is what it is not. These are the uses, and just a reminder that that's not what the program was intended for. Because I can understand, having been here 20 years, that people think, oh yeah, the stuff that's too big that I can't take myself, I'll just put it out once a year or twice a year. And I don't have that much because I never plow that
Yeah,
well.
I don't.
But this is
Yeah, well, if it is a gifting of public funds, then we have to discontinue it. And if people did a pay-by-item,
Well,
then
you-
it wouldn't be a gifting of public funds.
Right.
And actually, the service is to help people get rid of things that they can't manage themselves. And so that makes the most sense to me. When it comes to yard waste, we have a paid service for that.
Yeah.
So I'm paying a lot. I think the yard waste is pretty manageable. And, we run over a lot because we have tons of trees, just like you, we have a forest in our place, but kind of. But I'd hate to completely get rid of it, but even when you start educating, it's expensive to educate. And it's staff that really runs up costs for us. What we want to always be doing is thinking, as a small city, of keeping that managed.
Right, the unintended consequence.
Staff, well, because we don't want to keep hiring more staff for things like this. We really can't afford to. And the city is holding us accountable for the expenses for our employees and everything else. So this is one way that we can manage better. And if we were to charge for pickup, would it be our staff picking up, or would it be Waste Management picking up the appliances?
It would be our staff still, yeah.
So we would actually have to figure in the cost of the benefits and salary in order to have that pay program work. Would it
And
make
these-
those things so expensive that we couldn't do it? Because you'd be guessing on how much stuff there would be.
Well, then there's also not only the man hours in benefits and payroll, but also the use of the vehicle and the fuel
Yes.
and.
Oh, yeah, because we have that system and we're paying for all of that, which is great because we have a better idea of what things actually cost.
So I
You
think
we
it-
should talk about this at a study
Well,
session?
I was gonna say, this is probably a work study item.
Yeah,
So I think what we'll do is we'll take it to work study, but we'll have the gifting part answered.
you have to find out, right?
So probably work study in November.
Kind of with the gifting thing, to be honest with you, you could do that with almost every single issue. You could be saying, this is gonna benefit some and not others, therefore it's gifting. I mean, there's a fine line, I think, with the gifting thing, because we're a public entity taking
Well, it's
care
one
of the
thing
city.
if we're addressing water and sewer, roads and streets, because those are proprietary funds.
Mhm.
Right,
This is a program where we don't have, if we had a solid waste program like Paulsville,
Uh-huh.
then I think you could
I see.
dovetail it,
Sure.
but we don't.
Right.
This is a completely kind of off the hook program, and so it's something that Noah's looking.
good. Well, and you know what, it is amazing service. It is amazing. I've always thought, wow.
Yeah, this is.
I don't
the-
even use it, but I consider it amazing.
It's the few bad apples thing,
Yeah, I
you know.
But, and actually, it's the square mileage of the city and how much that's impacting this program. Yeah, I don't think we should be spending more, and work study's a good place for it to go,
Yeah,
to hear
again,
more
there's,
ideas.
to me, there's three issues. Is there's got people that have used the program and then the expectation. It's the city has grown tremendously that we may have physically outgrown the ability to do it. And it's this potential gifting issue that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, once McCormick Woods is fully built out in Stetson, we will be into overtime.
Oh, it's huge
We-
out there.
We won't be
Yeah,
able
3
to
more.
do it in 8 hours.
3,000 more houses out there?
Yeah.
Ironically, though, it seems like these are some of the older houses or areas in these examples.
Yeah,
I could
the
almost-
ridges have actually gotten really bad. Because
They
they're
move a
so
lot.
close together now
Yeah.
that they see one person doing it and then they all just start bringing it out.
And they have garages full of things rather than.
They have a
cars.
contest,
For
yeah.
the most part, I drive by, you can see that.
Yeah,
And
we do.
people who move a lot.
They
The-
need to
These
decide
pictures are just representative of
the worst.
this is a city-wide problem.
Yeah, and you know what, it is good to have these in, well, we will have to have it in a newsletter if we change the program anyway. And so this is some of the stuff that could go in there to show.
And what isn't reflected in this is when we actually get to a pile, and it doesn't happen very often, but there are sometimes, I mean, most of the time, these illicit piles, you guys still pick them up unless they're just,
Yeah.
because I listen on the radio, I can hear the guys chatter, and there's a few times when somebody just doesn't, we can't pick it up. It's like, I don't know, loose.
Yeah, they just throw a bunch of clothes out and just miscellaneous
What
garbage.
if
They
you
don't
only
contain
picked up
it.
the 3x3x4 area?
They will call.
Made a chunk of
They
it.
will call downtown, be rude to the girls, and then Rob will find out, and then he'll have them go back and pick it up.
Pick up the rest?
Because we'll just go past it,
Yeah.
and then again, it's this expectation.
This
like,
needs
well,
to be a work study item.
Yeah, we've got,
What
we'll
about
do
showing
that.
We can't
pictures
have
of people's
people
houses
writing
as
it.
what not to do?
We've got,
Kinda,
yeah, work study, that's perfect.
Okay. Next piece, I'll have Jackie speak a little bit to this. The city is moving towards asset management. Noah's kind of had taken a lead because it had to do with the software. And I think to me, there's two key things before Jackie takes over that we have to keep in mind is, to me, there's two main components to asset management, and I'm really simplifying this. There's the inventory side and getting your GIS platform built up. That takes years and years and to get that part built. And that's just having an inventory of your system and then having attributes and things. There's a whole other world out there that we've made huge strides in that from, you know, especially with Darren coming over for West Sound and when we gave everybody iPads and that, you know, when we clean catch basins, for example, picking up the catch basins within 2 feet, you know, starting to generate that data. We never had that for years. For years, asset management was in the heads of 2 people down at the shop, and it was like job security in their mind. Oh, I know where that valve is. That's under the asphalt, but I'm not going to tell anybody until that time is needed. And it was like, no, we need to mine that information and get it in a platform that's accessible. And so we have a very good platform, a foundation that has to do with where are all the valves, where's the hydrants, where are all the sidewalks, where are all the signs, you know. So that's just a part of it. The real part of where we need to go with asset management is the CMMS part, where now we're actually doing work orders and pay, and you know, there's a whole different world of asset management that once you get the right software, we can move into, and that's the part that I'll have Jackie speak more specifically to.
okay, so just a couple points of clarification before I get going. When Mark says inventory, he's talking about inventory of our pipes and valves and whatnot, not parts sitting on the shelf.
Right,
When
physical,
yeah,
yeah.
the plant in service. When I think inventory, the first place I go to is how many
Because that's
pressure reducing valves, yeah.
Because you've used CMMS where
Right.
you're actually looking at, I'm saying we're just trying to inventory our capital assets
The
in-
works of the city.
in
Right,
the ground,
exactly.
So the infrastructure.
the infrastructure
Yeah, the
that we
plant in
have,
service.
Yeah.
not then all the parts that
Right.
are on the shelf or,
Yeah, that's part of the CMMS, which is Computerized Maintenance Management System. And so what has to happen is our financial software, our Computerized Maintenance Management System, which we don't have one at this point, and our GIS all need to talk to one another. So we need to get them all working together. And that's one of the workshops that I went to at a symposium I recently attended was really interesting, had the actual questions to ask the vendors, how to get going with it. NOAA had, Association of Washington Cities had a consultation group to come and help us choose the GIS software that we have and how that was all gonna flow. And he thinks he has some budget left, he's checking that now, thinks he has some budget left in that to help us kind of go down the path of what would be the best CMMS for us to have that's gonna be able to talk to the rest of the other programs. And once we have a CMMS, it's like, I see it as, in the part in the Wizard of Oz where the sun opens up and suddenly everybody's happy because you have a budgeting tool, you have a way to track how much each job costs, you can track how productive a particular employee is, and it's very, very malleable. And the other side of it is because guys already have, or the people in the field I should say, already have tablets, all of this can be done, if you do it through the cloud, all of this can be done in the field. For instance, somebody calls in, says, here's my problem. Work order is generated by the administrative staff, and then it goes to Tony. Tony assigns it to whoever, or the supervisor, or the new foreman, whoever, assigns it to a person. That person gets a bing on their tablet. They can go right there. They fill in the tablet. Oh, I did this, I used this part, and this was how long it took me, and it goes right back in, so everything's live. So.
And that's how it actually, on the presentation that we saw in Silverdale, that's how guys get paid, is they don't get paid until they go out to fulfill the work order, and that time goes then into the timesheet automatically. So this could go like full circle efficiency that would change, how we operate.
Yeah, you can set it up for as robust as you want, with modules for all of the different divisions of the city. Even cross-connection control can be done through that, which can be hooked into DCD. Because they have in-premise isolation inside a building where we do, the premise isolation where we're out of the street. So, all of the departments can work together on that. So that's where we're heading. I think that to start off with,
and we're required to go there.
Yeah.
We're
not going to be
eligible.
eligible.
At what cost what does it cost to set up the system?
Well, that can vary all over the place.
I see.
Depending on how robust of a program you want. I would suggest that we have, especially if NOAA has some funding to help us go through the decision-making process about what software we end up with. But some softwares are more lean toward the work order side of things. Some are more toward the control of assets. It just depends on where we want to land. I think right now with the city of the size it is, we're the perfect size for getting this going before we get too much bigger and it's going to be too big of an elephant to eat.
I think the important takeaways is that we're required to have asset management and not just an inventory system. Just an ArcGIS platform.
So required legislatively
For funding.
or what?
For funding.
And we don't have one now.
And our storm program, for example, it's one of our sections of compliance, and we've been compliant, but we've been doing it through the inventory GIS side. But the reality of it is we need to move that further to have a more viable asset management. So I would say in 5 years, just like when we went from paper timesheets to Springbrook or whatever, we have to address this now so that, as Jackie said before, it gets too big to deal with. We are required to shift over to this. Once we've shifted and we're in a system that works, and then we can, expand. I would say in 5 years, we will be like how did we ever live without this?
Probably you need a good balance though, because you can spend a lot of time entering in all these little work order things and not get the job done. I mean, I could easily see a problem here.
Yes, I've seen-
From the practicality of being out there and,
Mhm.
oh yeah, this fell, right?
It's
Balance. It's balance.
That's the way the
Absolutely.
world's
I've seen
moving.
implementations be, you know,
You can strangle yourself.
$250,000, and I've seen implementations be, you know, $25,000. Of course, you can tell what kind of product you're gonna get for $25,000, but then I don't necessarily think that the Cadillac of the programs I've seen is called Lucity, and it costs like $80,000 just to buy it for one module for like water, the last time I looked at it. I'm not saying that that's what we need. I'm saying there's a huge range, and that's why we need to have somebody help us walk through that.
Right, and the thing is, we don't want to have huge price tags on utilities right now because we are already edging towards some huge changes with our water and everything else.
Mhm.
And it's affordability. So we're here representing the city.
Mhm.
We gotta be thinking along those lines. And even though I know you're gonna save money down the way, if it costs a whole bunch right now, we gotta think about that, easing into it and our
Mhm.
priorities.
Mhm.
So, you know, I hear you.
I think for me, it would be interesting to hear just what the other cities are doing and what's the county doing. Do we need to be compatible with the county? When you say GIS, are we using the county's GIS in some?
We are on the GIS platform, yes.
Does the
we're-
county
Okay.
have this management system in place?
For their public works
Yeah.
department, yes,
They do?
absolutely. I don't know
Yeah.
which program they're using.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, they
Sure.
presented at when the Public Works Board put on this asset management in Silverdale that I moderated. The county, the water and sewer district from somewhere on the east side came over, talking more about the CMMS capabilities of it.
Oh, I bet it was Clark PUD. Clark PUD is Clark Wastewater has a huge, very robust program, and they're using that program, Lucity, and it's down to the point where they can say out in the field, they can say, I see a water leak here, and tell the computer that's what they're doing, and the computer tells them what valves to shut off and what meters to shut off, so that they can get it isolated.
Well,
I mean, that's
I
the
hear
Cadillac.
that,
That's the
you know, when
Cadillac.
you're-
I'm not saying that that's what we need. I'm saying that
Right.
that's how
No, but
how
the
dialed in it
counties,
can be.
so the county gave a presentation in their stormwater program, for example, about what they're using and how they use it. So I think the important thing again is we are going to be required to have an asset management program.
Mhm.
At what level initially, and then we build. I'm just saying in 5 to 6 years,
Right.
it will be our standard, just like we do now. Everybody does their timesheets online, and that was new, and everybody was struggled with that. To me, it's the bigger issue is just getting everybody on board, but that's part of the growth of the city. We can't sit back and go, well,
Right.
we're just gonna stay,
Wouldn't it be beneficial to have something similar to what the county has, or are the needs of the county and the city way too different? What do cities do around? They just choose whatever works best for the size.
I think the bigger issue, Noah would say the bigger issue is, it's because he's really pushing on working with our new ESS
I see.
system, because we moved
Yeah.
away from Springbrook.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go to ViewWorks a few years ago, and there were issues with, no, we don't want you, Public Works, go do your own thing.
Mhm.
What you do has to be compatible, because it has to tie into
Yes.
our
Correct.
timesheets and billing, and all that has to work. So that's where Noah has really jumped onto this and saying, no, it doesn't matter what Paulsville's doing or Bremerton's doing or Kitsap County. We don't interface with that at all. What has to work is it has to work internally with all the other departments in the city, and really at the finance department level, that are what we do works in talks.
Yeah, one of the issues with having connectivity or being able to work like with the county or with Silverdale Water or with City of Bremerton or anything is the IT departments slam that shut so that there can't be any way for people to hack in. Because if you have that open line to another agency, then you're giving yourself a vulnerability there.
And especially the direction the chief is moving the police department, being a certified police department. I mean, he's doing a lot of things right now. Downstairs, if you've not been down there lately, there's just a lot's happening because vehicles, buying new vehicles that are certified police vehicles and having the police department as a certified police department. And the internet piece is a big part of that. So,
So they think the cloud is more secure than what we're using?
That was a big question that came up during this. And by the way, these enumerated, those are just my notes that I
Oh, okay.
typed up, okay?
Okay.
It wasn't anything official.
Okay.
But the thing is about the cloud, and actually my son is a systems development engineer for Amazon also, and I asked him the same question because I wanted another opinion. The cloud is way more secure than any individual program. And the reason for that is because the cloud has been out there for many years now, and that's their business, is making it secure. So another company who has software may not be as secure because that's not their primary focus, where it is in the cloud. So the cloud is much more secure than...
So what you're doing is pricing this? Is that what that where you're at?
No, I'm doing the initial investigation,
Uh-huh.
trying to find out what things we need to ask, what questions do we need to make sure that we have answers that'll work for us too. We're at the
plan for
very
the plan,
beginning.
right?
The plan for the plan, yeah.
right, and again, we're working, right, we're planning the plan. But we're really working with the finance department.
Sure.
So we just want to make sure that our needs are being
This is
met.
just a heads up.
Yeah, these were just pictures. I was sitting at
I think
during
your
the
needs
workshop
are-
snapping
yeah.
pictures of stuff that was, I
There's-
thought,
this
we
is,
need
yeah,
to
this is
know
just
that. you know.
this is just toes in the water at this point, just to let you know that, you know, we are required to go to asset management. The platform that we currently have is really just more on the inventory GIS side, and we're limping by in that, but at some point.
I really can see it with stormwater.
Yeah.
Especially when the illustration you gave,
Yeah.
just been kind of, okay.
Okay.
Well, and when we couple that, I'm sorry, one more thing. When we couple that with the fact that we're just now getting a TV van and being able to do that, that's another thing that is tracked through the CMMS is what is the condition of this sewer main so that when we have replacement dollars, we know what one to go to first.
Right. Instead of just how we've done it before, and just kind of arbitrarily.
Like panel on the
Well,
sidewalk kind of.
well, we look at the tape, and there's, you know, it's going to be it's going to make us more efficient. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
why it's required by these agencies. Okay, so very quickly, just on what we're just going to say right now is the 580 zone water campus. So the McCormick Communities Amendment 2007 agreement, that is basically agreed upon at this point, and I don't know when it's going to council. I think fairly soon, I think in November.
Yeah.
The McCormick Communities with Bremerton is also very close to being done. They just have to have it, I think their attorney right now is reviewing it and it's going to council. So we're basically at the finish line with both of those agreements. The Bremerton Port Orchard agreement, we've got the staff level between Port Orchard staff and Bremerton staff agreed upon. We had a good meeting there. Our attorney has now reviewed that. That's now back to Bremerton, and Bremerton staff and their attorney is looking at that. So we're also at the finish line, very close there. And then the South Cassette Fire and Rescue letter from the Fire Authority recognizing that they'll agree to this interim period is done. So in your packet, the only thing I did put in, because again, at some point I'll be able to put these documents in the packet, but they're not ready for public. I did show what our current water campus is going to look like, in the sense that you can see the blue area is, so right now there are two parcels of land, the white and the blue, the L-shaped. The blue will ultimately be the city of Port Orchards, and that's where we'll have our, the reservoir that McCormick is building now, the 580, that'll be a stacked 580. It'll have the future 660 that'll be built when it's needed. This has the well 12 well and the water treatment and pumping. The white is over the time period established in the agreements, exchange for water. The city of Bremerton will then have our 450,000 gallon reservoir, a site for their future reservoir, and their facilities in that land. Also, the water main that goes from McCormick Woods Drive to this facility that'll be part of their system in exchange for water, because they need that water main. We will have a McCormick in their agreement. We'll be building the water main from our 580 down to McCormick West in. So this exchange, we share that water main, that 16-inch water main that from McCormick Woods Drive that comes out where the intertie is, from there up to the reservoir. That was the main that was put in the early 90s that we share, because their intertie is comes in from the east right to McCormick Woods Drive and connect. So they have a water line that comes from Anderson and McCormick or Clifton to that point. That's their main. Then we have this shared main that will all be their main in the future, because it's going from Anderson Creek well 2A up to the 450. So that'll just be their system, and then they have everything on the north side of the road is their water retail service area. Everything on the south will come from well 12 and well 11, and then we have to build a new pipe, and that's part of the agreement with McCormick between those two spots.
But at some point, the Bremerton service will change because of our ability to service that area.
We'll be
So does that-
disconnecting.
And some of that get abandoned, or what happens then? That will still be, we have a connect now, so Bremerton will not be servicing Port Orchard any longer
Yeah,
at some point.
The ridge area, or
It's-
everybody
it-
north of Clifton they'll serve.
They still
It has to
will.
do with
Yeah.
what's in the coordinated water system plan and the retail service areas that are established. The retail service area for Port Orchard ends at Old Clifton Road, and Bremerton picks up on the other side
And
of
it
it.
always has been.
It always
So
has
that
been.
will never change,
No.
even if it's in the city limits.
When we separate, those residents will always be getting a sewer bill with the city and a water bill from Bremerton.
It is in the city limits.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
in our city
it's
limits.
I know.
Yeah, that's
So
why.
I actually thought part of the agreement was that we would end
No.
up, okay,
No.
so not
No.
at all.
No,
That will always
there's
stay the
never been a
same.
proposal for them to reduce their
Okay.
retail service area.
We just won't be paying for the Bremerton water anymore because of
There-
how we're doing it. So that's the only big, I mean, that's a huge change, but.
Yeah, we'll have a separated system,
Mhm.
but they'll continue to provide water for, it's no different than West Sound. you
Right,
know.
I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
logistical sense.
well, plus they're not fluoridated and we're fluoridated, so they're separate.
Right,
Right.
there's,
Yeah.
well, they're not fluoridated in McCormick, so on south of Clifton,
Yeah,
once it gets separated, that'll be a conversation that we'll have to, because when we connect our 390 with the 580,
right,
our 390 is fluoridated.
right.
That conversation will come up in the future, and I won't be a part of that. That at some point, that conversation will have to come up whether the city goes non-fluoridated citywide or we fluoridate McCormick. It's gonna have to happen. One of the two have to happen.
Well, that's one of the questions that I plan on asking the consultant too, is the preliminaries of how we're gonna deal with that. What I'm talking about is I just was notified that we were successful in getting a $30,000 grant to study interconnecting the two systems. And so that's one of the questions. What do we do about fluoride? So,
Right. And I know that we did that survey, the Whittletons had asked us to do a survey, and that was
That was
when
a
I
very
was-
simple survey, yes.
It was a simple survey, but it was extremely polarizing, and we
It
got,
was revealing.
I got comments, but the thing is, fluoridation is up there with Roe versus Wade.
yeah.
I was getting
Oh, no,
comments.
it's not. But yeah, I
No,
understand what you're saying.
we were getting nasty letters from people back on the East Coast. I had a gentleman try to hit me with a cane, call me a fascist. So,
Maybe it's your delivery.
no, I was just down here at City Hall.
People can feel pretty strongly about that.
Yes.
But the science is there.
They don't want to listen
I
to
get it,
science.
I get it, but the science is there.
Right, they're looking at an MSDS sheet for fluoride concentrations that we are nowhere near. But anyway,
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's a future conversation.
Yes.
But yes, when we
How
finally
future?
split the systems, Bremerton will have their own 580 that serve our citizens, and we'll have our 580 and 660 for ours.
Okay.
The work
way
plan.
into it.
Actually, when you have children, the fluoride is really, I think I'll be the only one in the room, but I think
No,
it's a good thing to have.
I agree. I lived on a well when my boys were little and I gave them fluoride pills.
Yeah, I did too when we had a well. But it is proven. I mean, the science is there
Oh.
to say. And it's for distribution to greater numbers.
But as far as a water distribution manager, my own personal opinion and what I do with my family has nothing to do with what I do with the water system. What I do with the water system is what the people that are drinking that water want.
Right, but I think you're fine. Correct. Anyway, that is a discussion for the future.
And I hope
It is, I get it.
And I'll have dentures by then, because I grew up with, I grew up in Bremerton and they didn't put fluoride in the water, and I've got more fillings and crowns than I have teeth, so I wish I did have fluoride. And parents took me to the dentist. Okay, utility work plan, I think instead of going down project by project on this list, we'll just go down we updated the spreadsheet, so I guess Jack, if you want to go over that very quickly and just kind of hit the high points.
Sure. Because of the issues with the model, the Foster pilot has been pushed out about 3 months, but we're still well within the guidelines of when we need to get our plan to our report of examination to ecology to go to the task
The
force.
model that's in the water system plan.
Yeah, I'm
The one
sorry.
that- the one that we thought we had a model, but we found out we didn't.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the hydraulic.
Oh, the
model
hydraulic model.
For the
Oh,
model
sorry.
for the county, for the groundwater in the
Oh,
county.
okay.
I was talking about Foster. Yeah.
I thought that they were still waiting for our model to be done. I thought that
No, we're
Thomas
waiting.
Poors and Joe Becker were needing our model done.
No, right now, no, they've got our model. Right now, what they were sent our model about a week and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
What they're doing right now is they're finalizing the sequencing and the net ecological benefit for out of time placement.
Okay.
Okay, and well 13,
You can.
we've had
Because it turned out okay.
Yeah, it's truly well 13. We've had a couple of issues just lately. 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, on Friday, Darren went to do his regular rounds and realized there was a refueling truck parked right next to the new wellhead that was leaking hydraulic fuel, or diesel fuel, sorry. So we immediately got Robinson Noble, got everybody descended on them. Darren took a picture of the side of the fuel truck so I could know what company it was. I called them and got everybody out there, and yeah, we got it taken care of, and Robinson Noble actually brought out containment containers, and they dug it up, any soil that was potentially contaminated, and now they know not to park there. So then this last Friday, we got a call in the morning that on Thursday evening when they were drilling, they had lost, one of the lines was compromised going into the drill rig, or into the well casing, and they lost 200 feet of casing down the hole. But they were able to fish it out by like 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, so it was okay.
So remember, there's a pilot hole, but now they're putting the casings in.
The big casing, yeah.
And they lost 200 feet of casing that they were
They
able
sent a squirrel down there to get
But
it.
they fished it out. So I don't know how they did it, but they got it out of there.
They had to bring in a big piece of equipment.
Guys, what are they using for that casing? What material?
Steel.
Steel?
Steel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was heavy.
That's common.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah. So next, their water system plan, that also has had to be backed up, and this was what Mark was talking about, was our own city hydraulic model. When Pace had it, it was not calibrated, it was, a problem, and so Tony.
It was a pseudo plan.
Yeah.
We had paid for a plan that we had never actually received a vinyl
Yeah.
plan.
So Tony had to spend quite a bit of time with some of his guys out there in the field doing hydrant flowing and measuring and whatnot to give the information back to BHC. They've got that all calibrated now and good. So right now they're working on the the proposed capital improvement plan in order to get Katie Isaacson to review that
Which is
financially.
it's an amendment to our previous gap analysis, and now with the McCormick agreements coming into clarity,
Yes.
she'll be able to take that information to really look at what those CFCs are going to be, and and we talked about that. So everything is finally coming, but it's still a June of 2020 kind of a thing.
So, yeah, do you know, did that delay well 13, the start date, or anything?
It didn't delay well 13, no. Well, anything that's in our current our current water system plan, even though it's outdated because it's dated 2009, it's only good for 6 years, that's the one that we still have to operate on until we get a new one.
Sure.
And so anything that's in that capital improvement plan, we can go ahead and work on.
I see.
And we will be needing an extension for 13, another extension, but we'll ask for that when we'll be in the final stages, and then we don't want to request it.
And that extension is not only for Office of Drinking Water, but also the funding.
Yes.
Both
Well,
parts of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So
we're okay. We just
Yeah.
got to keep.
And well 11, we're just
Plug in.
looking at getting funding to do the preliminary engineering and get the engineering done on it during 2020 so that we can start moving forward with that. SCADA, I'm at a loss.
That's ongoing.
Okay. McCormick Lift Station 2, we just did a pre-bid meeting last week, and we have some, what did he tell me? 27 questions or something?
We're gonna extend the bid opening a week. So the goal is to get an addendum issued today, addendum 1, and then we're gonna provide another week because we want to make sure that everybody understands the project, what the project is, and not what some people want the project to be. And then, so the addendum will be issued today or tomorrow. I would say probably tomorrow, and then the addendum will include an additional week.
And the Marina Pump Station, we now have agreed on a plan of how it's gonna go in. And RH2 is starting to work on the plans for that.
To finalize their 30%.
Right.
We were in this delay with the Soundwest group and that whole thing, and then we finally hit this point where we said, no, we've got to move ahead with what we're doing and not let the dog wag the tail, or the tail wag the dog, sorry. Then we took one last step where we looked at the interface of those improvements with our Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway West project in the future to make sure that we don't build something that we can't get past. So we've got that figured out.
Going over the top.
We'll be going, the main bunker is going to be like 3 feet out of the ground. We'll be able to go up and over the top of that.
And the
So-
observation deck will be gone
And then the observation deck will be higher.
higher.
We'll just bring everything up
I see.
3 feet in that corner.
Okay.
So we're going to be coming up to the grade of the marina office because it's higher, the sidewalk's lower, so it'll be fine. Everything will, when you come out of Kitsap Transit, as you head west, everything will just start to kind of come up
I see.
around that corner. And then west of there, we'll have our pathway, GGLO and Soundwest Group will have to work around kind of our plan for that whole downtown redevelopment piece there. But the main thing is we've addressed everything that we need to address now around our pump station, and now we're swoopsing, we're looking at the door handle on that, so that's our area, and everybody's gonna have to work around us. We had left the door open quite a while to be the other direction, and now we're like, no, this is where we're at. We've got this working, and we're finalizing that 30% design.
So the Albertsons lift station rehabilitation is a 2020 job that we're looking at, as well as the next two are because of developments that have come in, preliminary plat developments that have come into DCD, that we're looking at developers to have to build some infrastructure in order to do the developments they're talking
Yeah,
about.
there's two options. Either they go ahead and they rehab and expand the existing Albertsons, or that goes back to just being Albertsons, and then there's a new regional facility. I'm hoping for the latter.
Probably need it.
That's the Sydney corridor one. The Bravo Terrace one on the other side of the, is because of a big apartment complex.
Glenmore and all that
Looks like it's going on up
development,
there.
because the Bravo Terrace, they're moving ahead with their roundabout. They finally, after years of talking about it, I think Glenmore really wants to get going, and that project has doubled. I think it was originally 300 apartments, and now it's upwards of 600.
Oh, I've heard 5, but
Yeah, so it's basically doubled, and they know that they have to access through Bravo Terrace, and they know that they're not gonna be able to do that until they address the whole, ingress egress from there. So they're moving ahead with finalizing that conceptual that we had that makes McDonald's gas station, that becomes a right in, right out. And then there's an actual roundabout where the current right out only is, a little bit to the east. So that'll be a reverse.
boy,
It's already bad.
Well, that'll
That's
Place.
a lot of traffic.
there's a lot of property up on that Sedgwick Hill that is
Yeah.
being developed.
I
between
can't
Blueberry
even
and-
imagine.
Well, we've got, so our corridor plan, I mean, the reality of it is Bethel and Sedgwick, that's like, I can't remember which phase of our corridor study. The first one is Salmonberry and Blueberry, those two
Yeah.
roundabouts.
Yeah,
We may have to prioritize the roundabout at, there at Fred Meyer,
yeah.
because that's what's
It's gonna drive
blocking
everything.
that, to get that stuff functioning, so that the roundabout down at Bravo Terrace isn't being affected by that light. And then on the other side, we've got, on Sydney, we've got a conference call next week, because there's somebody that wants to be right there by Hovde with 200 to 300 apartments. And I'm like, no, not until we can't just keep approving stuff on Sydney without addressing the 160 interchange issue, which I did meet with Beck Ashby, and there was a little legislative tour. Michelle Caldier and I can't remember who else it was, kind of the Hobbs package, kind of revisiting that. But of course, we know that I-976 is going to have a big impact on that. So,
Well, and what's it been, 2 months ago or so, Nick called together all the developers that have made inquiries about property around that Sedgwick Sydney intersection up to where Sydney Glen Elementary is, all in there. And he's trying to get them to all work together to build one regional pump station rather than, a bunch of
Right.
Just
different
little
ones.
ones.
yeah, so look at that. And then the other thing is just transportation. They know that we can't approve these until something happens with that interchange. So, and it could be, it might be a bigger entity that comes in to develop down there, where there's a potential that Hovde Road may actually get extended from Sydney all the way and come in right there to the Lowe's light. So if that Lowe's light could go away and become a roundabout, then you would have the west side of the interchange, do a compact roundabout there. You would finally get that stuff flowing through on the west side.
Yeah.
On the east side, obviously the roundabout is going to help people get in and out of Bravo Terrace, which they're not going to be heading east. They're primarily going to be heading west. I mean, some may be going to the Southworth Ferry, but yeah, we're going to have to get that Bethel Sedgwick roundabout sooner than later.
Well, and I'm sure you
Cities
guys have
around.
been apprised of the region, the Puget Sound Council of Governments put out the 2050 plan.
Yes.
Oh, PSRC.
Yeah, the population is, having grown up here, I'm
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen when they built the second Tacoma Narrows Bridge. I mean, that's the reality. If they had never built that bridge,
Well, fast
and the
ferries.
fast ferries.
and the fast ferries. So we are the hot spot, and we're just trying to stay ahead of the bow
Well,
wave.
you're gonna keep running into moratoriums and things though. I mean,
Yep.
we can only do so much.
And I use
Right.
that word the other day.
And, well, and can the current population have this burden on their backs? Because look at I mean, there's gonna be developers involved in all of that.
You know, developers need to pay for development.
That's right.
Well, right.
And that, you can rest assured that your public works department is making sure that that's happening.
Good.
Even when we're getting some pushback on things, we're like, no,
Otherwise, we don't need it. We can't handle it. I mean, it's simple.
no.
Right,
It-
okay,
It's
good.
not at the backs of the taxpayers to provide for
Right.
development.
Yep.
So to move on, the downtown basin stormwater plan, that's that Reed and Middleton thing that
Yes,
Zach is working on. And Zach actually has been doing a lot of babysitting developers because we have another situation that's kind of going the same way as Stetson, only not quite as bad at Blueberry and Geiger, where the developer's just not doing the stormwater control that he's supposed to. And then Stetson blew out again this weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we're still waiting to have the exactly what I'll get our hands around how bad it is. But
So slide.
the test that it wasn't a slide, but the test that he was taking in
Oh, no, the Stetson?
Yeah.
It was, I would say it's a,
a little bit of a cave-in kind of thing from the pictures I saw.
yeah,
But the bottom line is that it's created rivulet because they didn't straw the thing properly, and it's created rivulets. And now when he was taking a sample out of where the creek should be,
All
it
the
was
sediment.
too
Too
much
numerous.
TNTC, too numerous to count. He couldn't get a reading on it even for turbidity. So
well, you couldn't even get, it's just like material, it's not even water. at this
yeah,
point.
it's just mud.
It was a major blowout.
So and then so we're still working through that, trying to find out exactly what happened this weekend in the storms. And he had warned them Friday. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this, but I approved overtime for him to babysit him this weekend.
Yeah,
so.
and I made sure today that he put that down as overtime.
Okay.
I tried to comp it. yeah.
Okay. So then the next thing is the stormwater system plan, which our plan is we're in the pre-planning phase right now. Our plan is to make that plan in 2020. And I'm done. I don't know the
Okay.
rest.
Bay Street pedestrian pathway, we are continuing to work through issues. And then Bethel improvements, pre-construction, Bethel improvements. I don't even know what that is.
What would that be? Is there just
I
repair?
think that's probably that plan that Mike has, the transportation plan that Mike
With the
has for that.
roundabouts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done with our,
The two roundabouts?
yeah, we're done. I'm not sure what that is. Lippert Drive, those are that's just that in-house design we're gonna be doing for next year. We've got a surveyor now selected, so we have to, I know that council person Ashby wanted to have a transportation advisory ad hoc committee. So I think what's gonna happen is we'll get that set up and we'll get direction as to exactly what small paving projects we're gonna be doing. That's what these are.
Paving?
Yeah, these are just paving projects that aren't requiring complete streets.
I thought we had a system.
We do,
We're
we
just
have the
prioritizing
pavement.
that.
And we did, we have the pavement management system that said to do Horseman, for example, but there hasn't been a lot of support to do that.
So we're overriding this system with something else, right?
Potentially. So that's why there's this need to have this ad hoc transportation committee that is making sure that everybody's in agreement that here's our pavement management system, here's our ADA transition plan, and this is what we're gonna do. Now, the reality of it is though, is that these projects are in jeopardy if Hyman passes, 976 passes. Because this is TBD money. Engineering standards, we've got that adopted, the updated, but I guess they're looking at a 2020 update. And then we already talked about asset management. The other thing you've got in your packet is just, we're very close on McCormick Pump Station 1, that's the one that McCormick Communities is building. got, the building is up and
Oh, wow.
they're now doing all the electrical controls.
Wow.
Yeah. Tentative startup date is November 18th.
Wow.
Looks like the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise, doesn't it?
Wow. This is Port Orchard?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the benefit of this, both this pump station and pump station 2, even though they're the state of the art and have the ability to obviously pump a lot of effluent, which always makes me nervous about the marina pump station. The
Yes.
benefit for these though is the controls in both these pump stations are gonna be able to take the peaks and the valleys
Even out.
and really regulate what we see down here. So that's how we're gonna kind of allow the marina pump station to follow in its path and not start to panic. Because these will be state-of-the-art operationally,
Nice.
where we don't have that capacity really right
This is
now.
really amazing.
So that's it. So at this point, unless we decide that there's not enough to update, our next meeting is currently scheduled for the 18th. And I guess with that, what time is it?
It is
10:33.
10:33?
10:43.
Oh, 10:40.
Yeah. There's always plenty. This docket actually.
Yeah, well,
a lot of
it's,
pieces,
Yes,
moving
it
parts
is.
in
Oh, yeah.
Public Works.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it's a balance of also, we don't want to have too much per meeting, but then I don't want to have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. So, I think an hour is, a good sized meeting, so.
Yeah.
I guess with that, yeah, I think that they know about
I
Mike.
don't know.
So, anyway, so that's that meeting, thank you.